let's dive into it. The Premier League announcement at 4:30 today. The 8 that we will see for the next 16 weeks are Luke Littler, Luke Humphries, Michael Van Gogh, and Rob Cross. And the 4 wildcard picks, if you want to call them that, Stephen Bunting, Gerwin Price, Nathan Aspinall, and Chris Dobie complete the field.
Can we have them in the right order? It's Stephen Bunting, Gerwin Price, Chris Dobie, and Nathan Aspinall. If we can just bump up Chris, thank you. Get them in the... I'm only going by order of merit ranking, Phil. That's all. I just want to make sure we get it just right.
First of all, have they got it right?
I think it's as right as it can be because it's so contentious. I think what anyone that expected, so what we've basically seen 2 changes onto last year's field. Anyone that expected to see more than 2 changes in a single year is naive. I just think it's very naive to expect more than 2 changes. And especially because we didn't get, a wild card finalist or a particularly wild semi-finalist at the Worlds. Dobie and Bunting, they've been there or thereabouts. They've both played in the Premier League before. They're both in the top 10. I don't think they're rogue semi-finalists. I think that, they're both players that really lots of people, especially as that tournament opened up, picked to get to that semi-final. I think there'll be a couple of players disappointed that you could have made a solid case for. You can make a solid case for Damon Heta. You can make a solid case for Mike De Decker. You might want to seek help, but some people will make a solid case for Dimitri Vandenberg. If you do, there are phone numbers available. But I think it's as right as they could have got it. I think to take out a Price and squeeze Heta in and have if you like another big change to last year. I think we saw quite a lot from Price at the Worlds. I think the big question's probably Nathan. Is probably the biggest question mark in that field, just because of the form that it has been up and down, and we don't quite know what we're going to expect from him, and it's whether or not he can sustain that over a long period of time.
I think I'm more concerned about Gezi. Nathan, I think they've given a little bit of a benefit of the doubt in that actually his record in the Premier League is pretty solid. He does get in there and contend every week. But because he's been injured, they've sort of gone, right, you've had your dip in form because of your injury, and now you're telling us you're back fit. We're going to roll the dice with you a bit. Up until this point, I hadn't really considered this because Gezi had a far better World Championships than Michael Smith. But I think if you were going to change only 2 of them, I think I would have left Gezi out for Smith. If you isolate them in a 4-on-4, which of these 4 do you want out? And the reason is this format just does not seem to suit Gerwin Price at all. So to put him through it again after he has been one to publicly criticise it multiple times seems a little strange, where we've seen a little bit more success and a platform that Smith's built in this event for the last few years start to turn into some better looking results rather than holding up the foot of the table. When you then look at it alongside results in the year they've had and how far Bully Boy's fallen and his reluctance to change those darts again because he insists it's not those, but the results with them compared to the old ones seem to be stacking up and speaking for themselves at this point. Look, you can see why the 2 they've kept are Aspinall and Price. The fact Peter Wright nearly shithoused his way in off 1 run at the World Championships was an absolute travesty. If he'd got anywhere near it, we should have all shot ourselves and saved ourselves the issue. Really positive for Bunting, I think I've said this earlier as well, to go away and build up a TikTok following and start a YouTube channel and all of that sort of stuff. And just prove that you've got a fan base and that you are marketable, like they keep saying you need to be, alongside a talented dart player, which he's managed to regain that form and move himself up in the world rankings in a positive note. Again, takes some doing from him. And then, like I said, Dobie, has he had the greatest season on TV? No. Does the number of upset wins in majors throw that stat off a little bit? Very, very good on the floor. And
You
he
can
had a
argue-
good Premier League last time he was there as well, which I think counts for something. He was a little bit unfortunate to not return after. Did he make the final?
No.
No, but he played better than what his
Yeah.
stats suggested.
Well, what kept happening was, if you remember, is he consistently averaged 103 and 104 every week and got beat.
Yeah.
He managed to find ways to get beat, average 105 all the time.
Yeah.
At least the Flags will be back in Newcastle this year.
Yeah.
They better be. They better be, mate. Fingers crossed the War Flags will be out. I do think, objectively, like Dimitri, winning the UK Open, carrying two semi-final at the Grand Prix, semi-final at the Masters, quarterfinals at the Match Play, like that is a solid year on television, like by anyone's standard. I think he doesn't benefit from the fact that much of his best work was done early in the year. Like much of Dimitri's best work this year was done early in the year. Didn't qualify for the European Championships. Didn't get out and about on the European Tour very much. It's personal preference. Let's be honest. Let's be brutally honest. It's an exhibition, isn't it? It's a travelling exhibition. And I, as a punter, would be very, very happy to go and watch those 8 players play a little tournament against each other, like in the venue. I think it's a very, very good mix of people that I would like to go and see. And if you gave me my personal preference to sub some of those out for other people that I would like to sit and watch, probably not. I'd take that 8.
It's interesting because I look at it a bit different. That I look at 6, 7, and 8 in the rankings, and if I'm Johnny Clayton, have I done more than Gerwyn Price this year? I think I have. In terms of if you want a Welshman in the Premier League, if I'm Johnny, I've got the ump.
Has he done more?
But again, that isn't what this is it? This is a travelling exhibition to sell out arenas. And
but all the arenas are sold out before they made today's announcement.
Yeah, but you still have to back it up, don't you? Otherwise, you won't sell out next year. You've still got to back it up. Gezi Price is still, he's announced as a former world champion. Now, don't forget, I know we've added a new one with Luke, but in dropping Peter Wright, you have lost a world champion. From your Premier League lineup. You've also lost a world champion in Michael Smith. So we've lost 2 former world champions, and there is some prestige, in those players that still carry around that title. He is, a champion of the world. As we talked earlier about how they're announced when they come out of the stage, we've dropped 2 former world champions. To drop 3 former world champions, you could look at that and say we've eroded the star quality a little bit too much.
Also,
before you get there, is this the first time that 3 players in the Premier League didn't play in the Grand Slam the year before?
Oh, Christ. There you go.
Probably.
On for the chat room.
Oh, wait, no. One of them's Johnny. Dobie, Gezi. Did Ask play? Yeah, world ranking. At least 2.
Uh,
At least 2, yeah. I just look at it and
it'll have happened before because we used to get, in fact, when Bunting was last in it, 2015, isn't that when we got a mixture of PDC, we got the top 4, and then we got PDC wildcards and Sky Sports wildcards. And sometimes the Sky Sports wildcards were proper wildcards as well. That's when we used to like pull Barney back from nowhere and things, isn't it?
Gary didn't get asked, no. I asked the question to his management and they were not contacted. Does
that surprise you, Phil?
No. It shouldn't.
Do you think let's be honest, he was pretty bloody clear that if they asked him, he'd say no. So we shouldn't be too surprised that they haven't asked.
They shouldn't, but I still think the question should be asked to make sure. Because Gerwyn Price said he never wanted to play in the Premier League, and he still got asked.
That's what he said on TV.
I'm not sure they've got it right. I think
who would you have picked?
I know he had a bad World Championship, but I'd have still gone to Decker. I'd want a debutant. I want a debutant in there.
But for whom? Who would you take out? You can't just add him in. You got to take someone out.
Yeah, you can't keep getting away with, I want the old format, so I'm picking 10.
No, that's fine. It would be between Aspinall or Dobie.
They've all the difficulty with it is there are more players probably than ever before with a claim. I would argue at the minute there are more players than ever before that whether they're justified in saying so or not, if you said to them, do you think you should be in the Premier League? They'd say yeah. And some of them are deluded. Some of them should be nowhere near it, but they believe they should be. But I do think the field is bigger than ever in terms of who you're picking from. You know, the fact that we've had a couple of rogue winners on TV, the fact that Ed House has won, the fact that Didek has won, that adds a bit more. You know, we have to you have to take those into consideration. I think Didek has probably suffered from, just losing his opening game at the World Championships, averaging 87. You've got to assume that if he could have put a bit of a run together, because I thought, to be honest, if Dideka beats Woodhouse and plays Damon Heta, that was almost a bit of a shootout. I felt that, because whoever won that is then gone deep of those two, and you've either got Heta sitting in his high top 10 ranking and he's gone deep, or you've got Dideka with his major carrying and then he's back on TV winning again, and it just didn't turn out like that. And I think
that's the issue for Dideka. Matt said they've not picked him because they didn't think he was quite ready. Now, I know that's a simple way out for the PDC, but actually, since he did win that Grand Prix, second round exit in the European Championships to Danny Noppert, second round exit in the Grand Slam, admittedly to Luke Littler, big averages in both of those as well. Granted, second round exit in the World Championships and a quarter final at the Players' Championship finals, where, to be quite honest, wins against Richard Veenstra, Ian White, and Neil Zonneveld aren't floating my boat before losing to Luke Littler 10-3. The manner in that defeat of Luke, plus them backing up with a poor performance here, I don't think has gone in Dideka's way, especially as, look, yes, the Grand Prix is tough to win, but it is a different format. It is a leveler of some sort. So to then take on, admittedly, Luke and Danny Noppert, who's not even made it to the Premier League, in straight leg play matches that have turned up at a decent level, and he's not been able to get over the hill. Especially, look, one of them's quite close with Luke. The other one, a 10-3 loss. To not be able to get closer, make more of a game of it, etc., will have gone against him.
100% it would have gone against him. And I think as soon as he lost to Luke Woodhouse, that was him done in terms of Premier League. But I still think winning on TV has to count for more than it does at the moment. You look at it, whether you like it or not. Michael Smith won the World Cup. Dideka won the Grand Prix.
You can get rid of that first one. I love the tournament, but that's like Barney clinging on to be a 5-time World Pairs champion.
Look, they've picked Barney and openly said it before because he won the World Cup. So
Barney's a bit different.
Even at the time, they picked.
But what I'm saying is, if you're winning on TV, it has to count for something. And at the moment, I don't think it does.
Well, my argument is from here on, and it has been for the last couple of years, is it has to count towards the World Series because the top players are getting more and more burned out. They're not interested. They're negotiating more and more from the PDC to go to these events. And you've got a whole heap of players in that next tier that we're looking at going, these are Premier League caliber players that aren't getting over the line. Send them to these World Series and say that these are test events for a potential spot in the Premier League as they should be. The likes of Damon Hatter, Mike Dideka, even as far back as Ross Smith a couple of years ago. Like, get these guys in World Series events around the world, building names for themselves. Yes, you need a balance of big names you've already got, but actually, if you divvy up the number of World Series events between the 8 players you've now put in the Premier League, and they all get 2 each or whatever, there's enough there that you can then build in 3-4 players from other rankings that each get one shot in certain places.
And to be fair, James makes a good point here that Michael Smith, again, he's done okay on TV this year. If we're talking about events.
He hasn't done as well as so many more players, though. But
when you look at that resume, he's done more than some of the players that have been picked.
Correct.
On TV, look, Chris Dobie has been incredible on the floor this year. But even he admitted, coming into this, his TV record had been awful. Gezi has been awful on TV this year. You look at Michael Smith's TV record, it actually stacks up. So there is an argument that Michael Smith couldn't feel hard done by.
There is, but do you think there's an element of protecting Michael Smith in not including him? Because there is
protection.
Is it better to be not included and have a year off?
Protection or punishment?
Could be either.
Look, let's be fair. The way he's spoken about it, the way he took a year off after winning the World Championships, he says it himself, basically just went out, partied, enjoyed life, fucked off to Vegas. Is this just a little reminder saying you're not as big as what you think you are?
Switch on, keep up, or it'll leave you behind.
Is that part of it as well?
I think he's too far on the slide now. Like, for them to justify it, like to be able to say, the world number 16's in the Premier League, I just think it's too far out, too far away. I can't think of when I'd have to have a surf back as to when we had somebody ranked that far out.
Gary Anderson, world 26.
All right, sod it. It was last year. Luke Littler was ranked 31.
Yeah, that's different. He's just got to a world final.
Yeah.
I think Gary got a Sky wild card when he was world 26 or something.
Right.
Wasn't he injured for half that season though? Like, there's been reasons for wild cards that low down, unless you're Barney. Which, let's be honest, we all begrudged when he got that last one anyway.
It's interesting. Like I say, I genuinely hope that this is the last year of this Premier League format, and I just, we talk about things to sort out, like Grand Slams and stuff like this. For me, the Premier League is in this as well. There are certain tournaments that need a shake-up and need to be fixed, and the Premier League is one of them.
Premier League, World Series.
I disagree. I genuinely disagree. I like the Premier League format. I just think you have to accept it for what it is. It's a novelty. It doesn't really count. It's a travelling circus, isn't it? It's an exhibition. Yes,
it takes them 17 weeks of my fucking life, mate. It needs something else.
Prize money. It's the second biggest tournament on the calendar. It has to be. It has to be something else. It has to be.
I like it. I like the event. I like it. I like the format.
Look, they'll never do this, and we've said it before. But make the Premier League like the FedEx Cup, where you've got a ranking table at the start of the year. You pick 15 events, no matter what. You can choose what they are, whether they're Pro Tour 4 and 5, Euro Tour 12 and 13, blah blah blah. And at the end of that race, the top 8, top 10, that's your Premier League. They won't do that because the jeopardy of players missing out is there. But make people qualify for it. Make it interesting. Give us a race 2. Make it relevant.
I think the only way you can do that, then you'd never be able to do it with the full field. You'd have to split the field somehow. And
why?
It's just too big a risk, isn't it? It's too big a risk for the PDC to take that you don't get your
PDC. But if you look at golf,
Sky.
right? Look, golf is a truly global sport. Now, their top seeds don't get protection from the FedEx Cup.
Correct, but people will still watch golf if the top 2 players aren't playing.
I still think they. I might be naive, but I still think they'd watch darts.
I don't think you watch it in the. Some of us would, but you wouldn't do the numbers.
But at the moment, there's no jeopardy. There's no fear in the Premier League, right? Players know they're going to get there no matter what they do. That's been proven. This selection says, don't worry about what you do. If you're an entertainer, if you're a bit of a rock star, bit of an edgy character, we're going to pick you. There's no jeopardy that they know they're going to play all 16 weeks. There's no, I'm getting paid no matter what. Like when there was relegation.
I'm not on that because, so in that case, then, because it's not just circus acts, is it? Otherwise, like genuinely, how does Dobie get in above Heta and Dimitri? Because they're the crowd. He's not coming on and dancing and wearing hats and doing all that other stuff. He's just going up and playing darts.
By making a race to it, make people qualify for it, and then
I like it.
Your darts do the talking.
Yeah, I like it. I don't think it'll ever happen, though, will it?
I don't think it'll happen, but I think it should. Because at the moment, look, everyone knows I love the Premier League. But at the moment, there is a massive danger that people are getting turned off by it. And it shouldn't. It should be celebrated.
I think the other thing that you have to consider as well is and we are just seeing it, I know we are repeating myself and going on about, Christmas presents and dartboards and darts being on the rise. There will be more players than ever watching the Premier League. Sorry, there will be more viewers than ever watching the Premier League for the first time, probably since its inception this year. There'll be more new viewers to the Premier League this year than since the Premier League started. And that's what I think they've had to, they should be thinking very carefully about how the Premier League is presented and what they want to present, not to the darts aficionados, the people that will watch no matter what, but they have to think carefully about what they present to people who are watching for the very first time.
I'm not convinced, but look, I'm one of the purists. I love the sport. I just don't like what the Premier League has become. What are you shaking your head for, Gob?
You spent 4 years telling me how the Premier League works, and this is about money, and the BDC do this, blah, blah, blah. Now you've come out with that line.
No, right, the last year,
new bars.
I don't like what it's become.
The cold has got to his toes. He's still walking around in flip-flops instead of fucking something getting to his head. The cold's frozen half of him off.
I just don't like I don't like what the format has become with the Premier League. And I understand that in the venue it works, and it does. I get that. But I look at this, I'm looking at this from a purely selfish media point of view as well here. I look at 16 weeks, and I think out of those 16, 13 of them will be won by Luke or MVG.
10.
That's still, though, ridiculously high out of 16.
Isn't it? It's what we've come to expect, isn't it, though?
Where look,
he's got that tattooed on his arse cheek somewhere.
look, commercial viability does have a part to play in any sport. I understand that, but at the moment, from a pure look, what we do, we're in media, right? 16 weeks, we could go without a Garwood Price interview if he doesn't win. When there's questions that we want to ask Garwood Price, and we're not going to get that opportunity unless he wins. Yeah, do I see him winning a Premier League night? Maybe. Right? Nathan Aspinall. Again, all gives you everything in media. What are the chances of us getting an interview with Aspinall if he runs into Littler, Humphreys or Van Gogh and every week?
Yeah, and under the old format where you've got 4 or 5 winners a night, you get that interaction. Correct.
We get to speak to everyone. We get to see what's going on. In this format, we don't. Right? How am I going to put this nicely? We'll get the winner, and then we'll get the occasional loser, And 9 times out of 10, it will be one of 2 options in the previous years because they're safe and they'll do it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just think from promoting the sport and everything like that comes with it, media responsibilities, talking to the media after you win, after you lose, this is the pits.
Well, good luck for the next 16 weeks, mate.
But no, you laugh. I've already spoke to Gob about his rotor. What ones he can do?
Not a bloody lot is the answer. I'm a busy
I
man.
can go to Newcastle.
Oh,
you want to come up here though? You like it up here, don't you?
I do like it in Newcastle.
You like it over this way. It's always
there's like 12 Gregs in 100 yards.
Shut up, we're opening the 13 soon.
But look, it's interesting. Yeah, exactly. It is a long way to travel, 100%. Where the old format was good, we used to get 5, maybe 6 if there was a couple of draws where they'd bring both of them in and stuff like that. But look, it is what it is.